so a little review of absolute value real quick. So if you take the absolute value of 7, it's 7. But if you take the absolute value of -7, it's also 7. It's like how far away from 0 are you on the number line? That's what we mean by absolute value. So you're 7 units away, but to the right, if you're a positive 7, you're 7 units away, but to the left, if you're a -7. Okay. Anyway, that's absolute value. So with an equation, let's say we have the absolute value of x equals 5. So what is x? Well, x could be 5, right? But x could also be -5, because if you took the absolute value of -5, you would get 5. Okay, so with absolute value in your equations, you're going to have to consider the positive case and the negative case. Now, I usually write the negative case on the left, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. All right, so it says solve the absolute value equations. The first thing is to get the absolute value part by itself. Okay, so we say we isolate the absolute value. So here we have 6x plus 4 equals, or I'm sorry, the absolute value of 6x plus 4 equals 8. So 6x plus 4 could equal 8. That's true. If it's a positive 8, the absolute value of 8 is 8. But 6x minus plus 4 could equal a -8. Okay, so that's what I mean by considering the positive case and the negative case. That takes it out of the absolute value. Now you don't have to worry about the absolute value part anymore. So if this expression here that I have, if it equals 8, great, absolute value of 8 is 8. But if this expression equals -8, see, then you take the absolute value of -8, and that's going to work too. Wait, let me get rid of these lines that are in my way. Okay, so we have two equations to solve, but these are linear equations. You're going to subtract 4 from both sides. Oops. You're going to subtract 4 from both sides and divide by 6, however you want to write it. And I get -2 for a solution. Here I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I'm going to have 6x equals 4. Divide both sides by 6, and I get x equals 2/3. So I get two solutions here, and you can check them, but those are going to be the two solutions. Okay, now there's some things we have to remember with absolute value. So you might be like, oh, I got this. All right, I'm ready to do the next one. And that's great, except it says the absolute value of 3x plus 4 is going to equal -9. Well, that's not going to happen. It's not going to equal a negative number. So there's no solution here. So you have to catch that, though. It's real easy to miss. So you're like, oh, I'll make my two equations. But no, an absolute value is not going to equal a negative number. Okay. This next one, the absolute value is not isolated. It's not by itself. So the first thing you have to do is add 4 to both sides. Now, a lot of times students make mistakes. They're like, oh, let me write my two equations, but don't do that because that will be a mistake. So get the absolute value part by itself. All right, get rid of anything around it. So I add 4 to both sides, and now I have a new equation. Now I can set up my two equations. Either 3x minus 5 equals -10, or 3x minus 5 equals +10. And then I solve each of those separately. So add 5, and I get 3x equals -5, divide by 3, and I get x equals -5/3 for that one. And then if I add 5 here, I get 3x equals 15. And if I divide by 3, I get x equals 5. So I get two solutions here, 5 and -5/3. Okay, so we have one more. Absolute value, it's isolated, so absolute value of -5x plus 10 equals 0. So that's great. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to make my two equations. Yeah, well, here's the thing. There's no -0, so you only get one equation out of here. -5x plus 10 equals 0. You could write another equation with a -0, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Okay. -5x equals -10. If you subtract the 10, divided by -5. And it looks like I only get one answer. I'm only going to get one answer if it's equaling 0. And I'm getting x equals 2. Okay, so that's how we do absolute value equations.